This is United Network News with Sunny Galt, Calen, Kimberly Gogan, and our field messengers from around the world. Here's today's real news.
The U.S. Consumer Financial Protection Bureau has introduced a new rule to strengthen the personal financial data rights established by the Consumer Financial Protection Act of 2010. This rule aims to enhance open banking in the United States by giving consumers greater control over their financial data, allowing them to access and share it freely with third-party providers.
Banks, credit unions, and other financial institutions are now required to provide consumers with access to their personal data upon request. Any third parties accessing this data must adhere to stringent privacy standards to ensure secure and reliable data sharing while promoting fair practices in the financial industry. The objective of this rule is to boost competition and innovation, making it easier for consumers to switch financial services and for new companies to introduce innovative products. Under this framework, consumers can transfer their banking history to new providers, seek better rates, and securely manage payments. Also, this rule prohibits misleading data collection practices and ensures consumers can easily revoke data access if needed.
Banks now have to make it super easy for you to transfer your data from one bank to another without losing your transaction and bill history. This means you can switch banks with just a click and no fees. It's called open banking, and it lets you share your financial info with third parties like merchants and fintech companies. Banks will actually have to compete for your business now, leading to better services like cash flow underwriting, stronger fraud protection, and even pay-by-bank options. And here's a cool part. The new rules also set a standard for how banks and lenders collect and share your data. The largest banks in the U.S. have until April 2026 to comply, giving you more control over your financial data. So get ready for a new era in banking.
Privacy concerns are also addressed under the new rule. It ensures that personal financial data cannot be used without explicit consumer consent, preventing third parties from exploiting such data for their own benefit. It also aims to eliminate the risky practice of screen scraping, which often involves sharing sensitive login details with third parties. However, the rule causes uncertainty for industry participants because of its unclear definitions and staggered compliance timelines. Data providers and authorized third parties face challenges due to these vague guidelines, affecting their ability to comply. The reactions within the industry are mixed. Traditional banks are concerned about potential risks to consumer data security and believe the agency is overreaching legal limits. On the other hand, the American FinTech Council is concerned the data sharing restrictions are too strict.
Why is there the perception of making data private so hard?
It's hard because there are companies that want to own that data, and there are companies that want to control that data. Where we get into problems is when we allow that to happen. The consumer needs to be in control of their data. We need to have open systems. We need to have secure data. We need to have tokenized data exchange that there isn't few large companies holding data and using it in ways that may be good but may be nefarious as well. Once we start to bring open banking more to the forefront and having it grow throughout the ecosystem, we're going to see a lot of value added for the consumer. They'll have less concerns about the data security because they'll know who owns their data, they'll get permission and access to that data, and they'll know that they're always fully in control of that.
Open banking has been adopted in several countries, each adding unique features to their systems. The European Union and the United Kingdom led the way with the revised Payment Services Directive, aiming to boost competition and innovation in financial services. Australia has made progress with its consumer data rights, focusing on data sharing and protection. Recently, Hong Kong launched its Open API framework to improve digital banking, ensuring more transparency and benefits for consumers. However, in the U.S., the new regulation is facing legal challenges. Some stakeholders are questioning if the new rule will be effective and if it protects everyone's interests, especially regarding its implementation and maintenance costs. Shortly after its release, 2 trade groups filed a lawsuit claiming the new regulation exceeds the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau's authority. This case could affect the timeline and rollout of the open banking initiative.
I think the biggest thing that we can expect is a massive scramble on implementation and compliance. And frankly, it's an area where we've learned from the EU that it is very hard to do that implementation and compliance well. Outside of the UK, there are still entire European countries where their banks don't have APIs and are like scrambling to do it. Some of them are, in fact, begging to just be allowed to let screen scraping persist in perpetuity because they have had such a hard time building APIs. In the US, there's a very short timeline for everyone to get into open banking compliance. And I think the next 3 years are going to be a mad dash to figure out the how of open banking in the US and a regulatory framework.
Open banking is just starting, and more awareness is needed, even where rules exist. Companies and regulators must step up, helping customers understand changes and manage their data confidently. Consumer control over data isn't just important, it's the future of financial services. For more information on the CFPB's initiatives and how to report violations, visit their official website at consumerfinance.gov. The Mexican government is banning the sale of junk food at schools across the country. This initiative is part of the country's broader efforts to tackle the health crisis linked to unhealthy eating habits, especially among children.
Mexico faces a severe public health challenge with one of the highest obesity rates globally. According to the United Nations, nearly 35% of children ages 5 to 11 in Mexico are overweight or obese. Sugary drinks, processed snacks, and fast foods have been identified as major contributors. And now schools in Mexico have until March of 2025 to implement a government-sponsored ban on junk food or face fines up to 5,450 pesos, which is about $268.
In a bold move to tackle childhood obesity, Mexico has given its schools 6 months to ban junk food or face hefty fines. The regulations, effective September 30th, target popular snacks like sugary drinks, chips, and chili-coated peanuts. Schools that fail to comply could be fined from $545 to $5,450, with steeper penalties for repeat offenders. UNICEF reports, Mexican children have the highest junk food consumption in Latin America, with 40% of their calories from these foods. President Claudia Sheinbaum emphasizes the need for nutritious alternatives. Think bean tacos and hibiscus flower water. But implementing these changes won't be easy. Only a small fraction of Mexican schools have clean drinking water. This ban aims to curb childhood obesity, where 1 in 3 children is overweight or obese.
The new program is called Vida Saludable, which means healthy life. It's part of a reform to the general education law. The goal is to improve the nutrition and overall health of Mexican school children during an epidemic of child obesity and diabetes. To comply with the program, schools must step up their game and meet the following requirements. The food served has to be natural or minimally processed, no unnecessary additives. Seasonal fruit and veggies are a must, keeping things fresh and flavorful. If there's meat on the menu, it's all about chicken or turkey, prepared the healthy way. No fat, no skin. Cooking is done with a touch of sugar and oil to keep it light. Plus, students must have access to free drinking water to stay hydrated throughout the day and help cut down on all the sugary, caffeinated drinks. According to a 2022 study by the University of Yale, Mexico is the leading consumer of soft drinks in the world. 40% more than people in the U.S., which came in second place. However, switching from soda to water may be challenging. At most of Mexico's 255,000 public schools, free drinking water is not available to students. In fact, only 4% of them have managed to install drinking fountains, according to the government, since 2020. That was the last time the Mexican government tried to tackle this issue. Also, in May of 2014, they rolled out guidelines to regulate the sale and distribution of prepared and processed foods and drinks in schools. But as it turns out, keeping kids away from junk food and sugary drinks is easier said than done.
So a friend of mine who recently moved to Mexico sent me these photos of the cereal boxes at his local grocery store. Can you spot what's weird about them? That's right, there's no cartoon characters. We don't often think about this, but Mexico is actually one of the most obese countries in the world, and this fact has resulted in their government setting increasingly strict rules to discourage the eating of unhealthy food, especially among kids. As a result, you can no longer advertise unhealthy food to kids on Mexican TV, and some Mexican states have banned the selling of unhealthy food to anyone under 18 altogether. And this spring, a ban took effect purging all cartoon characters from unhealthy food packaging. That means no Toucan Sam, no Chester Cheetah, no Kool-Aid Guy, no Gansito.
Between 2010 and 2020, Mexico introduced front-of-package warning labels to help buyers spot foods high in salt, added sugar, saturated fats, or excess calories. Some snacks even have all four warnings. Now, under these new rules, any product with just one of those warning labels has to go. Schools will be phasing them out from their snack stands entirely. They're also trying to shift kids' eating habits away from some traditional but less than healthy Mexican favorites, like chilaquiles, tacos, and quesadillas. To support this, school cafeterias are being encouraged to steer clear of serving these types of meals to students. There's also a plan for an educational campaign involving everyone in the school ecosystem, principals, parents, teachers, and more, to get everyone on board with healthier choices.
Reducing junk food in schools is one thing, but what happens just outside school gates? Sidewalk vendors often set up shops during recess and after school, selling all sorts of goodies to kids. How the government plans to enforce the rules in those spots is still up in the air.
Community fridges are a great way to distribute food to those in need. UNN Field Messenger Margaret tells us about the Community Fridges initiative in Miami.
Hi, I am Margaret with Florida Cares, reporting for United Network News on one of the ways that food is made available and accessible to people in need. A local Miami grassroots movement called Buddy Systems was formed out of the pandemic lockdown to enable access to nutritious foods for people. Buddy Systems has set up 10 community fridges throughout Miami-Dade. Each fridge is placed in a protective housing, and both fridge and its shelter are beautifully painted by a local artist, where nutritious foods are filled and replenished by volunteers. The motto is "Take what you need, leave what you can," with the intent of reducing any stigma associated with getting food help. The Richmond Heights community is where one of the 10 community fridges in Miami is located.
Hello.
Nice to meet you.
Nice
My
to
name
meet
is LaKayla.
Nice to meet you too. Thank you for sharing your time here.
Sure.
And
we used to stay in the fridge. Normally, like the buddy system is supposed to have people come from like Trader Joe's and stuff like that and donate food here.
Oh.
But usually it's like people from the neighborhood.
okay, so I mean, you see regulars that come to use the service there.
They're like, can you please check the fridge for me? Is there anything in it? And I just make them like a little bag with like stuff
That's
in
nice.
it.
Okay.
I visited another fridge, and by the time I arrived, there were only a few loaves of bread remaining and one lonely avocado in the fridge door. The lifeblood of this program rests with volunteers. This is a great program for getting foods that would otherwise be wasted, and I feel that it would benefit greatly from expansion and adoption into other communities that are underserved. Thank you for watching.
The spirit of the Free Christmas Shop is all about giving without any strings attached. Everything is free and available to anyone at any time. UNN Field Messenger Jarrell interviews the creator of this inspiring shop.
This is Jarrell, Field Messenger for UNN, and we are going to see the free shop, and Denis, who is the creator of the free shop.
Welcome to the Spirit of Christmas Free Shop.
Yeah, so what is this? What's this shop?
Well, people find it hard to believe, but everything's free. And everyone's welcome. We have no conditions. There are no conditions for love. It's either love or it isn't. And we've been open for 2.5 years, 24 hours a day, giving away thousands upon thousands of free things.
So where does those things come from?
I steal it all. No, I'm a very good collector. Some lovely people bring it in like this. Everything's washed and cleaned, and we'll put it all out. Yeah. And it really makes it happen.
So anyone can bring?
Anyone can bring. It just needs to be clean and, really, really good condition.
Okay. So can you tell us, how can you afford this place?
It's free. We own all the so-called public property. It's ours, the buildings, the land. It's all the people's, obviously. Governments were there to do what the people told them. Now, they don't always do that, but that's our responsibility.
So what can you use this building? What was it before?
Well, it was a railway station, right? I am actually the station master.
Okay, so the building was unoccupied? Open a shop?
I open free shops in different places.
Beautiful. So this shop is open 24/7?
24/7. Some people said, why don't you just open business hours? I said, I'd rather open 4 times longer than that. Because I don't just open when customers would like to come. They can come anytime.
Yeah, because nobody is here to check on anybody.
Well, it's all free.
It's all free.
No need to check.
So
they can come in and they take whatever they like. Giving isn't just the fastest way to change ourselves and our world. It's the only way. There are no other choices. We either take care of each other, we either love each other and share things, and we'll change the world.
Beautiful.
Animal welfare is a topic becoming more important in our everyday lives. It's all about ensuring animals are treated with care and respect, living in conditions that meet their basic needs. One of the most important steps to improve farm animal welfare is setting up and enforcing rules that keep animals safe from mistreatment and neglect. A new investigation out of the UK shows more work needs to be done to protect these animals.
Unfortunately, in the United Kingdom, only 2.3% of animal welfare violations lead to prosecution, showing a reliance on industry checks and weak enforcement. This is according to a report by the Social Market Foundation, backed by Animal Equality, an international organization aiming to end cruelty to farmed animals. Animal Equality UK has conducted investigations into more than 820 factory farms and slaughterhouses since 2006, uncovering a troubling reality. Most of these facilities violate animal welfare laws without facing serious consequences. The report shows 1/3 of farm inspections find issues like pigs having their tails cut off without pain relief, cows struggling to walk on hard concrete floors while carrying excessive volumes of milk, and salmon being slaughtered while still conscious. Very few of these cases lead to legal action. Despite the UK's reputation for strong animal welfare, many violations, such as the caging of chickens, goes unnoticed.
As the babies grow, their cages soon become even more crowded. They are given less space than an A4 piece of paper per bird. The cramped environment quickly begins to take its toll. The hens are unable to carry out many of their natural behaviors. They suffer from feather loss, which, in some cases, is so severe that they become almost completely bald. Their eggs will be sold under the Laid in Britain scheme, which assures consumers that it offers the highest standards of food safety and bird welfare, providing eggs from happy, healthy hens. In reality, many birds don't survive these brutal conditions. Chickens aren't the only animals living in these giant sheds either. Toxic rodent poison is scattered around the floor and in old egg cartons. Bins are filled with broken shells, maggots, hen carcasses, and even the bloody corpse of a mouse, all swimming in the yolks from discarded, rotting eggs. The filthy, overcrowded conditions are not only horrifying and unhygienic, they're also incredibly inhumane. Hens deserve better than this.
These abuses continue largely due to significant enforcement gaps identified in the Enforcement Problem Report, co-authored with the Animal Law Foundation. Between 2018 and 2021, the report found fewer than 3% of UK farms were inspected annually, leaving 97 out of 100 farms unchecked. Additionally, only about half of the farms receiving complaints regarding animal welfare were inspected, and of those inspected, approximately 1/3 were found to be non-compliant. Shockingly, only 0.33% of farms faced prosecution following initial complaints. Animal Equity UK criticized the system, saying it lets industries self-regulate, lowering standards. Animal welfare enforcement is split between local authorities and the Animal and Plant Health Agency. English councils have faced an 18% funding cut since 2010, reducing farm inspections.
We need to do more proactive investigations. And we need to assist law enforcement to understand how to do those proactive investigations. And so yeah, that's why we were started, because I recognized that wasn't happening. I think that in terms of the barrier as to why law enforcement are not doing them, I think it's a lack of training and a lack of awareness. Definitely not a lack of will. Definitely not. I speak to so many great law enforcement officers who really want to work on these cases and unfortunately are not given the training and the resources to deal with them.
The Social Market Foundation report points out industry schemes like Red Tractor, a UK labeling system assuring the highest quality, often don't act on violations, and there's little public data on inspections and results. Red Tractor certifies about 80% of UK farm production and was created to rebuild trust in British food after past health issues. The Social Market Foundation says sharing enforcement duties between the government and underfunded councils weakens the system. The report also suggests putting welfare enforcement under the Animal and Plant Health Agency and regularly releasing detailed inspection data. It also recommends letting enforcement bodies keep fines from penalties like traffic tickets. Additionally, the report proposes a bold reform, a state-run system that could be funded through licensing fees, covering inspection costs and offering more transparency. Laws are meant to protect farm animal rights, but they must be enforced to truly prevent future animal suffering within the agricultural system.
Now, some people say that animals don't have feelings, so they don't need to have rights. This stems from an attitude which was expressed by René Descartes in the 17th century. He said that animals are unthinking and unfeeling. But René Descartes is dead, as is his outdated thinking. There is now a multitude of scientific studies and evidence to show that animals think, have emotions, and feel pain as well as joy. Others might argue that there's an unwritten contract between people and animals. For thousands of years, people and animals have worked together. Humans provide shelter, food, care, and protection, and in exchange, Animals provide things like security, companionship, pest control, wool, milk, and eggs. But did animals really choose this? And would any animal choose to be slaughtered for their meats? Most breeds of animals used in farming and as companion animals don't exist in nature. Some have been domesticated to a point where they rely on humans for survival. What would happen to them? Factory farms are a stark example of animals' rights not being enforced. Animals are intensively bred, kept in cramped, unpleasant conditions, transported, and then killed. It's fairly obvious that no animal would choose that life if they were granted their freedom.
Fixing the gap in animal welfare enforcement is key to making sure farm animals live in humane and respectful conditions. By pushing for stronger rules and a clearer enforcement system, we can move toward better treatment of animals. In the end, how we treat animals shows our values and compassion, helping create a kinder world for everyone.
A small village in the northern part of Romania celebrates death with colorful humor and artistic expression. UNN Field Messenger Monica tells the story of this village's Merry Cemetery.
Hi, I'm UNN Field Messenger Monica reporting from Săpânța in Romania. Death is not always as grim as it seems, at least not in Săpânța, a small village in the northern part of Romania in the region known as Maramureș. That's because over 800 villagers have decided to leave posterity not just a tombstone, but a new chance to tell their stories. The more than 800 painted crosses of this cemetery, which became famous for the sculptures, paintings, and poems inscribed on the tombstones, form a rich archive that preserves the history of the inhabitants of Săpânța. The Merry Cemetery is like no other cemetery in the world. There are not many people in the world who make a habit of laughing of death. The legend of Săpânța's Merry Cemetery could only be a merry one. The cheerful attitude towards death is a custom of the Dacian ancestors, who believed in eternal life, and for them death was only a passage to another world. The Dacians did not see death as a tragic end, but as a chance to meet God. They believed that every time someone died, they automatically become happy, because after death was the meeting with the Creator. The tombstones are painted with bright colors obtained from natural pigments, depicted scenes from the life and work of the deceased, and are inscribed by hand with humorous verses about the life and death of the person buried. The inscriptions are sincere, spontaneous, written in the first person, and are messages from the deceased to the living. The texts are satirical, lyrical, each poem containing the name of the deceased and an essential aspect of their life. Some crosses are painted on both sides. On one side is a description of the life of the person buried, and the other the reason for their death. The name Merry Cemetery also comes from the coloring of these crosses, because they express the most beautiful colors, bright colors like yellow, red, white, green, and the deep blue, known as Săpânța blue, which symbolizes freedom and the sky. In 1934, Staniwan Pătraș, sculptor, poet and painter, had the crazy idea to express the story of a man's whole life in a piece of oak wood. He believed that celebrating life was more important than grieving death. After his death, Dumitru Pop Tinku was the only one of his students who was really able to continue the tradition successfully. Here's one of the funniest epitaphs. My poor mother-in-law, under this heavy cross you lie, and yet if you had 3 days more, you would be here to see me die. So, passerby, do not disturb her, for if she were to come again, we'd never stop her tongue for waging. Her words and curses fell like rain. I will keep quiet, please do so too, and shall not wake to curse all you. Thank you for listening. Bye.
Are you ready to change the world? Take the next step and join our weekly Field Messenger meetings. Learn more at unitednetwork.earth. I am United Network News, and so are you.